beaming across the eastern townships from the heart of Brome-Missisquoi. This is 99.1 CIDI.
Hello and welcome to The Alternatives. You have choices. I am your host, Ilya Kavoukas, and this show is brought to you by the Sunshine Centre in Sutton, Quebec. We are broadcasting from the CIDI in Brome-Missisquoi, and we're a show about alternative medicine. What can we do in our life, taking responsibility in our life to take care of ourselves before we get sick? Even if we get sick, what happens, how our environment plays a role in our state of mind. And today I have a guest that is an old friend of mine. His name is Aurélien Guillory. Hello.
Hello.
No, so nice to have you.
Glad to be here, Ilya.
I remember the reason why I'm doing this show is because you had invited me onto your show called
Living Color.
Living Color. Today, my guest is an interior designer who has a specialty on, who actually loves colors.
Obsessive with color?
I like it. You got to be obsessive about something.
Oh, yes. Follow your bliss, right,
Follow
Ilya?
your bliss.
Follow your
exactly.
bliss.
Okay. So today, I'd like our listeners, I'd like to share with our listeners all of your wonderful advice about choosing the right color, organizing your space, decorating your space, and so that when you come home, that you're in a state of bliss when you're there. And
very important.
Yeah, because I remember when we first met, you were talking to us about you actually showed us your house, your beautiful home, country place in Glen Sutton.
Right.
And you asked us. You said when you're decorating, are you a sky type of person?
Right.
Are you meadow or are you a cave type of person?
Right.
So, for instance, if you're doing your bedroom, what would you like to retire to?
Well, this is part of my bias, my background. And when I was in New Orleans, I was at school in university there in Tulane, and also before that in Lafayette, the heart of the Bayou country. I had several majors, and my father said I'm using my school curriculum as a menu and using up all my money in the process, he was saying to me. But I think he's long gone now, but I think he would be happy with how his money was well spent at the time, because I had a conflict, and my school counselor was saying, "Aurel, we don't really have the category for you yet." And I was saying, because I'm very interested in science, I'm very interested in psychology and all of that. At the same time, I really want to be an artist. I want to do paintings. I want to do sculpture. So I ended up having a double major and staying 5.5 years in university and coming out with degrees both in clinical psychology as well as fine arts.
Neat.
So the combination to me and the synthesis that this long ago career counselor would love to know what happened is this psychologically supportive environment. And the synthesis of personality, environment, and making a person feel good and look good and feel better in their own space.
Sounds good to me.
Well, it's the whole idea of, well, again, following your bliss, about me being involved with color so much, and me saying to my clients, there's lots of times, Ilya, we have to remember that they don't have our vocabulary.
Yeah.
When you're talking about chakras, you have to find out, have they heard of those things? Mm-hmm. Okay? And it's not some spice in curry. Okay? But I've heard of stuff like that. And I was certified as a color therapist over 25 years ago. And at the time, I had huge guilt pangs about neglecting my family and my regular design career by doing all this. But it has since stood me in good stead. The time and money involved then was really early before a lot of other people were involved with that. You were involved with yoga well before it was common knowledge and suburbia.
Absolutely.
Okay? Same thing with me. Color therapy and color psychology was early on, and now it's become a lot more understood and more respected as the idea of how color can affect personality. So because of my research and my design, my psychology background, I sort of approach this as sort of a diagnostic test with my new people.
Neat.
And when I'm talking about, there's two parts to your house. There's the personal bedroom, sanctum sanctorum. And that is where you can be a lot more personal than the rest of the house. The rest of the house, or loft or condo or whatever you want to call where you're living, is a little bit more of a manifestation of your public image a bit and who else you're living with. The bedroom, whoever's in there with you should be a friend of yours, for sure. But also the amount of atmosphere that you want to create in there. And that's my questions of, are you a sky person? Are you a meadow person? Are you a cave person? And that's more about the bedroom and then the rest.
No, okay.
Except that it does, there's a lot of overlap, obviously.
Overlap, yeah.
But the idea of asking people that question immediately connects on a subconscious level rather than on a status level, as in what colors are they using today.
Sure.
And we all talk about fashion
What are your
victims.
favorite colors?
Or the ones that your parents said you should have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Or what's in fashion right
what's in
now.
fashion? This is marketing, you know? This is not really understanding yourself and being flexible and thinking about yourself and whoever's with you as part of that. So another factor we were talking about earlier is the debris factor.
Yeah.
Are you both equally messy or equally neat? That will make a huge difference. I can remember marvelous romances in college, but the debris factor was a conflict, or the fact that they were completely oblivious to color was another conflict.
Yeah.
You know?
And when you're talking about debris factor, you mean what kind of things do you like hanging around in your space? Do you like when you come home to the table completely cleaned off? Do you leave dishes in the sink? Or you,
Sure.
leaving socks hanging wherever they land?
Part of this is visual presentation.
That's right, that's right.
And how much do you notice and how much do you not notice?
That's right.
Some people are very oblivious, and they're much more inwardly thinking. They're abstract people. I'm a 3D people. I always think about three dimensionals rather than intellectual things like numbers.
Yeah, that's right. Just let me tell our listeners, Aurélien, that they're listening to CIDI 99.1 FM, Radio Communautaire in Brome-Missisquoi. And this is The Alternatives. You have choices. Your host, Ilia Kavoukis, and my guest, Aurélien Guillory. You may know Aurélien from his show, a radio show called Living Color. And we're discussing how our space can help us be more relaxed, can feel like you're coming home to either a cocoon or coming home to chaos, and what makes you feel good when you're deciding how to decorate your space, which I feel is very important in our psychological level, in our psyche. And how do we feel? Because when I know when I'm going home, I have this warm feeling that wells up in my chest.
Looking forward.
Yeah, going home, my sweetie's going to have dinner ready, and, I'm going to sit and have a glass of wine occasionally, so it makes me feel good knowing that I'm going home. But
Sure.
some people, they don't put that much emphasis on their home, and they're oblivious to the fact that their environment does have
and they
an
call me up
effect.
and they don't know how to say they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes the husband and wife have really never discussed it. And this is where we talk about marriage counseling as an interior designer and how is an interior designer different from a psychotherapist? With an interior designer, you have the perfect chaise lounge, and you don't have to pay for it by the hour. Right?
Absolutely.
And an interior designer and a psychotherapist are both about interior space.
Yeah.